Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will go ahead and call this meeting of the Sebastian City Council to order. You would all rise for the invocation from Pastor Will Finnan from Sebastian United Methodist Church, and please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance that will be led tonight by Vice Mayor Kinchin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the City Council and citizens present, would you join me in an attitude of prayer? Let's pray. Have mercy upon us, O God, for we are but imperfect stewards of the responsibilities we have so publicly sought and which duly rest upon our shoulders. We pray this evening, of course, for the welfare of our community and each and every person here in Sebastian. Residents, visitors, potential residents, persons seeking a new home, persons with no home, persons passing through. By our presence here tonight, we demonstrate our concern and care for your creation, manifest here in the way we manage the resources of land, our magnificent waterways, and care for all creatures, including ourselves, whose lives depend upon the environmental systems that support vitality and health. We give thanks for those who care for, protect, and defend the integrity of our environmental home, and for them we ask renewed wisdom and commitment. For those who serve as officers and administrators of our laws, we ask your protective shield, and in the face of danger, we ask for their continuing wisdom, especially in complex situations that portend harm. Tonight and the days ahead, especially in these seasons of Hanukkah, Advent, Christmastide, Kwanzaa, of course, grant us in this body both personal and collective wisdom to put aside petty interests in favor of broadly constituted common good. May our discussions and debates reflect the respect we hold for each other and for you. And if it is not too much to ask, O God, may our decisions be well-informed, fair, and without reproach in all matters both private and public. We offer this prayer this evening, grateful for the gift of your grace, compassion, and love. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kitchen.
Here.
Councilmember Dodd.
Here.
Councilmember Iovino.
Here.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all for being here this evening. Agenda modifications, Council, I've been asked by the City Manager to add an item under proclamations, awards, and brief announcements. I'm going to add that under 6A if it's okay with Council. It's a presentation by the Indian River Lagoon Council.
Okay.
Any objections?
I'd like to pull 9B, please. That's consent agenda item B.
All right, are there any other modifications? All right, thank you. That'll take us up to brief announcements. For the public, Sebastian River Art Club show in Riverview Park will be held December 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Sebastian Craft Club show will be in Riverview Park January 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Are there any other announcements from Council?
I just want to announce that the Sebastian Police Department is sponsoring a movie in Riverview Park on the 21st. The Polar Express, if you want to take your children, please, it starts at 6 p.m. It'll be a great family night.
Awesome, thank you very much. Anything else? All right, hearing nothing more from Council, we'll go ahead with 6A, the Indian River Lagoon Council presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to read directly from my cheat sheet. This past Friday, the Indian River Lagoon Council held their annual meeting right here, and at that time they presented this photo as part of the Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program Award to the City of Sebastian for the city's support of the Indian River County Lagoon Coalition and its participation on their board of directors from 2015 to 2017. They want to say thank you for renting them office space in the old school building and for providing the Indian River Lagoon Council with meeting space in the City Council chambers. They are very appreciative of the leadership the city has shown and wanted to recognize that in a formal way. This photo is entered as part of the Indian River Lagoon annual calendar contest. The gentleman who took the photo is David Fisher of St. Lucie County, and the picture was taken on Indian River Drive across from Little Mud Creek in St. Lucie County. So with that, Mayor Hill, shall I present this to you, sir? I don't know if, can you capture that? Good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this time, I will recess the city council meeting and reconvene as the Community Redevelopment Agency. Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Kitchen?
Here.
Mr. Dodd?
Here.
Mr. Iavino?
Here.
Mr. McPartlin?
Here.
Chairman Hill?
Here. Council, could I get approval of minutes?
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item C, approve facade sign and landscape grant.
Yes, sir. Lisa Frazier, our Community Development Director, will make the presentation. Lisa?
Good evening, Council. As we all know, the CRA offers a facade sign and landscape grant program. Eligible signage and landscaping improvements may be considered for 50% of the cost up to $7,500. One of our existing businesses who has luckily relocated within our city, Paradolia Brewing Company, has requested a grant for their new sign, and we, the staff, recommend approval of that grant.
I move approval.
Second?
Any further discussion from council?
I'd like to interject. If anyone looks at the agenda packet, and there's a spreadsheet in here that shows the dollars on that, and I just want to make sure it's clear that there's a $40,000 pot for awards in this budget cycle. The funds that were left over from previous budget cycles are not available for awards. So someone might look at that math and think there's more than the $40,000, and there's not. So,
Correct.
And with that, I'm ready to approve it. Yeah.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Damian Gilliam, 1623 U.S. Highway 1, Sebastian. Good evening. It's been brought to my attention by a few of my constituents that had contacted me that you have, and I could be wrong, I haven't had a chance to complete my due diligence on this, but you have a manufacturing of a product in a zoning area that's not permitted. So before you proceed any further, you're distributing, you got product that's being manufactured that should be done, I think, in an industrial area. And it's been moved into an area that's not industrial. And from the newspaper article, from the quotes that were brought to my attention, that they will be doing distribution out of that location. And if it's manufacturing, I just want to make sure it meets the right criteria for your planning and zoning. So, just for a point of record, before you approve something and you're going to spend money on signs, I'm only bringing it to your attention because it was brought to my attention, and I told these people that I would bring it to your attention. So I've brought it to your attention, and I hope you check with your community redevelopment director, your P&Z chairman, your city attorney, and make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on this? Hearing none. Any further council discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Iavino?
Here.
Mr. McPartlin?
Yes.
Chairman Hill?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kitchen?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item D, approved septic to sewer grants. Mr. Griffin.
Mr. Chairman, our Community Development Director, Lisa Frazier, will make the presentation.
Good evening. As we are also aware, the CRA offers a septic to sewer program grant, and the Marine Bank and Trust Company located on the east side of US Highway 1 has requested up to the $15,000 grant amount to put in, to convert their septic to the sewer, and the staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you, council. Do I have a motion on item D?
Move to approve.
Second.
Does anyone from the public wish to speak on item D? Seeing none, any discussion from council? Roll call, please.
Mr. Iavino?
Here.
Mr. McPartlin?
Yes.
Chairman Hill?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kitchen?
Yes.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I will now adjourn the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting and reconvene as the City Council. Council, that leads us to item 9. Councilmember Dodd has asked that item 9B be removed. Can I get a motion on the remaining items?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of items 9A, C, and D.
Second?
Got a motion is second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Iavino?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Dodd?
Yeah, I asked to pull item 9B because I'd like to maybe have a discussion about with the chief. I'm interested primarily in the procedure. If I look at the state law, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I guess the state legislators in their infinite wisdom provided a cost capture means in the state law. So I'm interested in maybe addressing whether there are additional costs to this, and if there are, how are we going to structure a reimbursement method? And so
there really are no additional costs unless for some reason the gated community requested us to be there an extensive amount of time, which that would fall under our extra duty policy, which we already have and we already utilize throughout the community. If someone asks us for homeowners meetings as security, they have to pay us. So it would be essentially the same. This is just to enforce the traffic laws as long as they have abided by the proper signage, the legal signage, which the city will not have to pay for. That all comes out of the community. But it's just basically to get us in there and be able to enforce the traffic laws. Some of the gated communities have some issues, with speeders and talking with the parents or talking with the owners have not rectified it. So they have tried to step it up. And all we're trying to do is just make it a little easier where we're not having to bring all of the homeowner meetings here before you or private properties such as Walmart and Publix's, just so we can abide by what the statute calls for and enforce the traffic rules as long as they have followed the state statute. Okay. So we're not looking, they are taxpayers just like the rest of us, so we're not looking to gouge them by any means, and it would only be if we had to use excessive time.
Okay. All right. And one other thing that came up in my conversation with the city manager earlier today, one of the gated communities has a 20-mile-an-hour posted speed limit, and that's not what it would be if it was in the city. Are we going to enforce their posted speed limit?
What happens with that is we are going to have to do a study to determine if those are feasible amounts, because some of them also have 15.5, things like that. So those are topics that we are going to go through. We're going to make sure that they follow all the rules and that the city looks at everything before we either allow the speed limit to be 20 or if we go based off of what the current statute is and it's 30.
Okay, all right, thank you. That was my question.
And just to also, so you know, we will run all of these agreements by the city attorney and the city manager to make sure that they're in agreement with it.
All right, good, thank you.
Thank you. Anything
I move
else?
approval.
Second.
Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Any further discussion?
I actually had a question for the chief, but
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I can.
Chief?
I apologize. I already know the answer to this question. I just want to verify. The signs are going to be taken care of by the actual community and where we're doing this, and then the Department of Transportation will actually come out and verify the sign, stating that it's approved, it's got the actual inspection sticker on it, regulation height, and what have you, correct?
Actually, the city can do that since
Okay.
it's within the community, but it will be under DOT rules.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Anything further from council? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Hill,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen,
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd,
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino,
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That leads us up to item 10, committee reports and appointments. Council, we have the Citizens Budget, Review Advisory Board. Ms. Williams.
Yes, Mr. Hoffman is here, available to interview. And Mr. Hall, is Mr. Hall here? I don't see Mr. Hall, but he's also interested in serving again.
Okay. Would you like to announce all the council members' appointments?
I'm happy with just renominating them to the board,
Okay.
Mr. Hall and Mr. Hoffman.
Okay.
These are for your at-large positions.
Right. Okay. Council, what's your pleasure?
Just as a point of information, there is still one council member position open for Councilmember Iovino.
Okay. So I'd say, Mr.
I move
McFarland?
Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Hall for the at-large positions.
Okay.
Second.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate your continued service to the board. Okay. Next up, we have Parks and Recreation Committee. We have two applicants. Ms. Williams.
Yes, Mr. Sunnycap, the alternate member, would like to move up to the regular member position. And then Jay McGinnis is also interested, and I don't think they're here tonight, but they are interested.
All right, Council, I would recommend appointing Jay McGinnis to the position.
Yeah, and then Jay McNinnis to the alternate position that Sonny Cap is in?
I recommend putting McGinnis into the regular position.
Oh, is it a regular position?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other nominations?
I'm fine with that.
I'll second
I
that.
like to nominate Mr. Sonny Cap to the regular position.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Okay,
This is for the position, both McGinnis and Sunnycap have been nominated for the regular position.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Vice Mayor Kitchen,
McKinnis?
Councilmember Dodd,
Sonny Cap.
Councilmember Iovino,
Kennis.
Councilmember McPartlin,
Mr. McInnes.
and Mayor Hill.
Mr. McGinnis.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. McGinnis is the regular member.
Mr. Mayor, can we take just a quick step back? The Citizens Budget Review Advisory Board, was there a vote on that, or was that by unanimous consent?
That was unanimous. There was no.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay.
I missed that part.
That's okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, are there any other committee reports or this evening from any members? All right, thanks. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 11. Public hearings, there are none. Item 12, unfinished business. City Attorney search. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir. At the last council meeting, 22nd of November, I was directed to collect council member nominations for city attorney position and then post them on tonight's agenda. I have done so, and also I checked with the Florida Bar about any of the selected attorneys, any tenured discipline history, and found none. So we are waiting your direction.
All right, Council, we were given a basic outline from the city manager as to where the candidates, I suppose, rank from us as individuals. We chose 5 each, and we all have that outline. How would you like to proceed? Anyone up here?
Well,
I'd say go with the top 4 that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Bring them in for
I agree.
individual interviews.
I agree. I agree 100% with that. We take the top 4. I've spoken with the city manager about this. We can pick some dates early in January. We can all individually interview the candidates one-on-one.
can we not do it on one day and just all of us be in a different room?
Yeah, I love that idea. Sort of have like a
If we
little
can-
round rotation.
If you guys can agree on a day, I don't work, so it doesn't matter to me. You all have jobs.
I'm certain the city manager could probably individually speak with us to come up with a date that would work. But I love that idea. We spend about 20 minutes
That way
each.
we can just move them down the line.
Yeah. And then once we get to the next council meeting, I'm sure we'll have a pretty good idea of what we'll want to do after meeting with those 4 individuals, and this council can have the discussion up here as to how we want to proceed. Does that sound reasonable?
So we're looking possibly in the first week of January?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Does that sound
So,
reasonable?
Yes, sir. So that would be the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of January. That's first week in January. And Ms. Jeanette and myself will work on coordinating, bring those 4 individuals in and work on coordinating how we will set it up for council members, and I'll be contacting you for open dates, and I'll be in touch with that.
That sounds great. Council, that works for everyone up here? All right, thank you. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Damian Gilliams. The last time we spoke about this, I had an opportunity also to review the 23 applications, and I'd like to share with the community, since nobody knows how the council members picked their potential charter attorney for the charter officer position. Mr. Hill had picked Clifford Gray Robinson, which is a big law firm, Cynthia Hall. Now, just for the record, Mr. Hill, the ad said 5 years minimum government service, attorney service in government law, as well as board certified. And I think it's important that when you consider these applicants, that they meet that criteria, because that's what you advertised for. And in your choices, you're not doing that. So, just for the record, be conscientious when you go ahead and retain somebody as a charter officer for our community, that they meet the qualifications. That's all I'm asking. Some of the others, I want to commend Mrs. Kitchen for doing a very good job, Mr. Mayor. She did her due diligence. She reviewed the proper applicants. And Mr. McPartland, just for the record so the community knows, he put somebody in there that I felt was not qualified. I'm not going to mention that person's name. Mr. Dodd, as I like Mr. Dodd, but same thing, he put somebody also in there that I felt was not qualified, did not meet the criteria of the advertisement that the city paid for. Mr. Albert Lovino did an excellent job. Thank you, sir, for doing your due diligence and reviewing the paperwork. I think it's critical every time we pick a charter officer that if you're going to advertise something, then you need to meet those qualifications. And I think as an attorney, being certified in government affairs and municipality law is critical to our community, as well as having a minimum of 5 years for the job. So I felt it was my obligation to let the community know what kind of job our council members are doing when it comes to playing politics with our city attorney. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak on this item? Hearing none, I guess you have consensus to move forward. So we'll be all set. City manager will contact us individually. We'll come up with a date, and we'll get going on this. Sounds great. And by the way, I will say that I was very impressed with many of the candidates that we had come forward. It shows that Sebastian's a great place, and people are really wanting to come here and work. So I'm very happy with the list that we have. Very qualified individuals, so I look forward to this continued search. Anything else, council? All right, thank you very much. Leads us to public input. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak this evening on any item not currently on the agenda? Yes, sir.
I want a copy of, I want that hat, Bruce.
Close. No. Let the people. Thank you all, Bruce Ingman, very proud of Sebastian. I have to thank, Santa did say he was coming to a warmer climate, but he's not really sure what but he feels at home here. I have to thank all the city officials for greeting. Thank you for greeting Santa and walking him to his house. Thank you. And I have to thank our Sebastian Honor Guard and our Chief of Police bringing everybody, and the Indian River Fire Prevention and the Sheriff's Department. Also, we have to thank the Public Works people. Thank you very much. And all the police department and all the volunteers. Fantastic. Santa did say he would come this Saturday, 2 to 4, to greet any children who missed him. He'll be in the park from 2 to 4, as long as it's not snowing, he said. So we do have to thank the Sebastian Seniors and Junior Women's Club, Sebastian property owners, Sebastian Area Chamber of Commerce, great help the last 2 months. And again, Public Works and the police department and volunteers. And thank all the people who helped direct or watch the parade or were in it. Thank you all.
Well,
Thank you.
special thank you to you.
Thank you.
Bruce, thank you very much for all that you do for this community. I'll speak for myself, but I believe that most on this council would agree that that is a special event that you hold down there. You work, you and your lovely wife, I better say Barbara too, because I don't want to get in trouble. But you guys do a yeoman's job down there, getting things lined up. You know, it's a tight parking lot there when you have all of those vessels and vehicles parked in there, and you do a heck of a job getting everything lined up and getting people to go to the event. So, here, thank you for being a citizen of Sebastian. You know, we're better because of you.
Thank you, and thank also all the city workers. They came up with this idea of closing the parking thing for 2 days. Because usually on Friday, they'll leave their trailers and go for the weekend, and then we can't line up. But we were able to line everybody up straight. So thank you all.
Got some big thinkers at the city now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak this evening? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mark Bondi, 997 George Sebastian, and Merry Christmas. I'd like to approach you and hand you out a flyer. May? Thank you.
Thank you.
This is, I'd like to inform the City Council that the Pelican Island Audubon Society is putting on a conference at the Emerson Center in Vero Beach. And the conference is titled Transforming Landscapes for a Sustainable Future. The reason I'm presenting it to you is speaking with one of our fellow colleagues, Jane Schnee. She thought that we might have to look over our landscaping ordinance, okay? And I'm just presenting it to you. We'll probably be working with the Natural Resource Board in the future. So thank you. And thank you all for serving.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council, would there be a problem with maybe having staff put a slide on Channel 25?
Oh, no, I think it'd be a great idea to put this on a TV channel.
Okay, can we go ahead and get that taken care of then?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and get a slide on Channel 25 to try to get some more people involved in that for you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening, council members. I come before you with a grievance. I am very dissatisfied with the response of the Public Works Department. I've called and talked to the town manager, Mr. Griffin. My neighbor, 25 years he's been in Sebastian. I've been in Sebastian 14 years. In front of his property, the street, there's been a standing pool of water in which there have been fish swimming in it. He continues to call the Public Works and gets no response. I call the Public Works. I'm told that someone will be out to take some action. I call back because I don't get a return call at the end of the day. And I says, hey, where's this person that was coming out? Well, someone showed up and they took pictures. I said, well, when that someone showed up, why didn't he have the courtesy to knock on the door and let us know that there was someone in the area looking at the situation? There's no communications, there's no response. And in the meantime, in front of his house sits water that's been there for 22 months. And it's had fish in it, okay? And it's nothing but a mosquito breeding pool. And it's got nothing to do with the swale. It's because about 5 years ago, Public Works came out to correct the leverage on the land, to put a taper on it, okay? What they did is they directed the water in the wrong direction. Their spike is still in the middle of the street where they had their tripod standing to get a good pitch angle. They pitched the water to his house. So now everything drains to his house. It doesn't drain down the street to the canal where it should be going. About 3 years ago, we had the unit come out and run the armadillo down the swales, because this was supposed to be the answer to the problem. When I called, I was told, well, it's your swales that's causing the problem. Not that we'll come out and do something or look at it, give you a proper answer. I said, well, I can stand on the upside of my driveway, and I can take a leaf blower, stick it in my pipe under the driveway, and all that comes out the downside is water and some air. There's nothing in the pipe. You have pitched the street in the wrong direction. We have an issue, and you don't seem to want to take care of it. I have better response when I send an email to Public Works about the potholes on Barber Street. They get patched. But this man has water sitting in front of his house for 22 months. He could go fishing in this pond, and we get no response.
What is your address, or his address?
His address is 121.
121?
121 Arcadia Drive in the Highlands. So all I can say is I'm rather disappointed in Sebastian. I thought we were better than this. I thought we were better than this. You know, a telephone call. Let me know. Is someone coming? Are they going to do something? Did you come out? Did you look at it? What are you going to do? Or are you going to do nothing? At least communicate and let us know what the heck you're going to do about the situation. That's what we pay taxes for.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We'll have a discussion with the city manager and see what that situation is when we're done with this agenda item. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to commend the gentleman that just spoke prior to me. He had the audacity to come up here and tell you where things are at. God bless him, because we've got major problems in this community. I brought it to your attention. I've requested that this board would get their act together and let's get a master plan put together, not just on the roads, but on the drainage, the swales, the canal walls. We need to be proactive. We cannot just be reactive and wait for one person at a time to come to this dais and waste your time trying to fix problems that have been constantly going on for many, many years. This week, I noticed I got a metal plate put down on my street. It looks like a sinkhole. Now, I wasn't going to bring that, but since this gentleman came up this evening, I figured I'll bring it to your attention. And I normally would call Joe, and I don't mean to embarrass anybody this evening. It is getting ridiculous. We need to have a master plan. We need to divide the Sebastian Highlands into 5, 6 zones. We need to prioritize which streets, which drainage. We need to get help from the state. Indian River Shores just got $1 million grant for Beach Road. Sir, I'm talking to you.
Sir?
Please don't interrupt me.
I'm sure you're aware that the items that you're discussing are on this agenda. In fact, they're a couple of agenda items away. So if you have
Well,
anything to
they're
discuss
not on the
that's
agenda.
not on the agenda, then we'll be glad to listen.
Okay. With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, it's constant. We've been coming in front of you. We want action. We want a plan. We want you to work with our local legislators to get the grant money necessary if you can't seem to figure it out with your impact fees that you're delivering, like with the Parks and Recreation. I was in front of you last time, and I said, sir, stop taking the Parks and Recreation money, using it for repairs and replacement. It's for new parks. You did not answer me. You did not give any direction. This council sat and looked, and I brought it to all your attention, and I called some of you at home to bring it to your attention, but we go on deaf ears. Why? We are taxpayers. We have a right. You're breaking the law. There is the law that says you cannot use recreation impact fees for repairs and replacement. You can look at the clock all you want, sir. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here every meeting, and I'm going to bring it to your attention until something's done. It's illegal to use that money. We want more dog parks. We want when you pay an impact fee, it's an impact fee to the community. We require more parks. That's what the money's for. I spoke to your finance guy through a letter to the clerk, specifically giving him background information on how that money's to be used. To this day, I've not gotten a response. Let me move on. We got a lot of work to do, Mr. Mayor. Please, let's get organized. Let's delegate. Let's get things done. Tonight, I just watched you overlook a guy who was on Parks and Recreation as an alternate, and you bypassed him. So the message you sent to the people in this community, don't join our committees and be an alternate. You're going to be bypassed. I want to commend Mr. Dodd for at least acknowledging the guy. I'm not going to mention any names because I know it's politics, but that is wrong. That's not the message you want to send to this community, sir. You want to send a message that if you do your time and you're an alternate, you keep looking at the clock, sir. Look at me, because I'm not going anywhere. I got 5 minutes.
You have 30 seconds.
No, I'm timing it. I got 5 minutes.
So am I.
Yeah, you don't want to hear the facts, sir. It was wrong what you did tonight. Get your master plan on the roads, your canal walls. I'm going to be here at every meeting, and I'm going to get it done. One way or the other, we're going to shame you people. And this council, he's only one vote. You have an obligation to get it done and direct your city manager. He wants the money and the tools to get it done. Now be the mayor, Mr. Mayor. Show us some leadership. And God bless and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else this evening who would like to speak under this item? Seeing none? There was a question that was brought up about a certain street. Have you had a chance to take a look at that? And is there anything that you want to
Yes, sir.
report, or did you want to go out and take a look at it?
I've talked to the gentleman twice.
Okay.
Okay? I've had pictures taken of the area. The determination is that the under driveway pipes are clogged. That is a responsibility of the homeowner. We've had people out there, the survey crew that he talks about that was out there was actually our engineering tech doing the shots for a new construction across the street. It had nothing to do with the slope of the road or the slope of the swales. So I've conveyed this to him, but they don't want to listen to me.
Sir, give me a call or email me. I'll be glad to come out and take a look. And I'm not an engineer. We have our engineers, but give me a call. I'll come out and take a look at the situation.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to say something in regards to the prior comments.
Yeah, please do.
When the other last meeting that we had, the other gentleman came up and we actually on-viewed photos of the standing water in their driveway. I reached out to the city manager myself in regards to that. We've also had several discussions on grant money. Robbie Stabe, who's the city manager of Indian River Shores, was very much involved in that part on Old Winter Beach Road and the grant money. I've talked with Mr. Griffin about that on several different occasions. I believe I'm not the only council person that's actually reached out to him, and there is a plan in effect and changes that are being made to combat the water and drainage issues. So just so the public's aware.
Thank you. And it's on the agenda this evening, part of that. So I appreciate that. Council, that leads us up to new business. Item A, 14A, Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir. In case anybody has been watching, this is the third time that I'm bringing this issue before council. I've taken it back, removed it from the agenda in order to tweak it, make sure that I have it right. The stormwater issue is an ongoing issue in this town. It always has been. It always will be. I think we need to change the policy that we have right now based on the fact that mostly the under driveway pipes, a lot of them as the city ages, as these driveway pipes age, they collapse, they block the flow of water. We all know by ordinance that the responsibility for the flow lines and the under driveway pipes is the responsibility of the property owner, but frankly, I used to say we have 50% participation in those things being cleared. It's more like maybe 20 or 30%. And what this does is this impacts the roads. So where it's not coincidental that where we have swale, under driveway pipe collapses, blockages, the water backs up on the roads, then the roads start deteriorating, and then we have multiple problems. So what I'm proposing is we change the policy, and we try to hit this head on, cure the swale and ditch problem where there are road problems, and then once the swale and under driveway pipe problems are corrected, then we go ahead and repave the roads. So I'm proposing that in city block sections where efficient stormwater flow is seriously impaired, where in those block sections we will repave the streets, which will follow stormwater corrections and in cooperation with property owners who will retain ownership of and responsibility for city-installed improvements, including future maintenance of those improvements. In consideration of all this, what I have done recently is kind of carve off that portion of Public Works, the stormwater portion, and make that a standalone entity. There's proper leadership in that department, in the stormwater department, and we have 2 teams of 5 people. They have adequate, I think, adequate staff. They have adequate equipment, other assets, and that was initiated on December 11th. So I'm asking that council approve this policy, and there is a follow-on agenda item right after this that will talk about the construction of the under driveway pipes. Thank you.
All right, Council, we've had this on the agenda a few times. It's actually the first time we're actually seeing it in a council meeting. What's the pleasure of council?
I move approval of the stormwater policy.
Second.
Motion is second, and I'm gonna let me go ahead and get some public input, and then we'll discuss
Okay.
on the council level.
Can we, before you do that, can we put page 91 up on the viewer so people can see? That's actually part of this agenda item.
Yes, sir.
The chart on page 91 of the street study, the stormwater street study that was done and published in October.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
That way, anyone who wants to discuss this can see this is actually a list of the streets. It's a run between 2017-18 budget cycle all the way to proposals through 2021 and 22. Mm-hmm. It shows the streets were identified in an engineering study as the streets that needed to be repaired from a street perspective, a paving perspective, as well as from a stormwater. And what the intention to do with this policy is to actually take streets number 1 in 2017-18, not Indian River Drive, but 1 through 7, mm-hmm. and actually do a complete restructuring of the stormwater drainage on those streets, and then repair the surface of those streets. So it's important, I think, this stormwater study is something that's been talked about since last summer, actually early in the spring. I think I brought it up in the spring sometime to do that. And so it is actually the beginning of a plan to try to address citywide stormwater.
A very
So there is a
comprehensive,
planning
yeah.
process being done. It doesn't necessarily address the whole city because it's impossible to address the whole city at once. You have to start with the areas that are identified as being the worst offenders. I think the gentleman was up here this evening is a good candidate for team number 2 from the stormwater people to go out there and fix this problem. That's something the city manager can deal with. But so I think it'd be important to have that up so people can see it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. So just for the public's purposes, the item that's up on the screen right now shows, as Mr. Dodd stated, the road improvements that are going, the swale improvements that are going to be made.
Yeah, these are
along
the
with
streets
road.
that he's talking about
Right.
attacking first, are
Right.
those, and at the same time, the first step in each of these streets would be to go in and restructure the swales, replace any under driveway pipes that have to be replaced, and then go through and do the resurfacing on the streets.
Okay, thank
So
you.
fix the stormwater first, then do the resurfacing.
A motion and a second.
The other thing, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, the other thing to note there, the first item there is Indian River Drive. That was a separate line item in your budget this year, and that's another follow-on agenda item that you'll see a little bit later.
Indeed, thank you. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Yes, sir. Absolutely. I just need your name and address, please. Please, once you get to the mic.
About
Sir? Your name and where you live? Your name and where you live?
He's at that mic.
what's that?
Over.
He's got the hearing aids.
The microphone of the
Okay.
lectern.
Just step over here to the mic, Vern.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's quite all
This
right.
is Mr. Vern Barnes. He's
Thank
at
you.
121 Arcadia Drive. He's the gentleman
Thank
who
you.
has to swim in and out of his driveway.
Thank you, sir.
I've been there over 20 years. This water in front of my house has been there for a solid year. I stopped at the county, or at the city hall, asked to have somebody come and look at it. They said he's on his way. I got home, my wife was waiting for him. Nobody showed up. Nobody called us. I'm going blind. I've got another injection Friday, but I can't read the paper. I can't do any of that. I slipped in the water 2 days ago, and I couldn't get up. And that's embarrassing. I'm 77 years old. I served in Korea and 30 years of military training. I worked with your people here years ago, and I'm just as disgusted as anything because nobody had the courtesy to call us or anything. And I expect some kind of help. And if I don't get it, the whole city, the whole county's going to know about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And, drainage is a very, very serious issue. That's why we continue year after year after year, go through the planning process on this drainage. Thank you very much for your service, and, I'm sorry you're dealing with what you're dealing with, but we are working hard to come up with a comprehensive plan to resolve the situation that you're dealing with. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Jim Clifton, 817 Kane Street, and I'm got a lot of concerns about this policy. I don't know if I need to read the sections that give me issue for the people out there. Number 3 states, in cooperation with property owners who will retain ownership of and responsibility for city-installed improvements, including future maintenance of said improvements. There have been historical situations in this city, specifically the bulkheads that were installed on private property for the benefit of the larger community for the drainage situation. Now people found their bulkheads are not secure, they're failing or whatever, and well, gee, it's your problem, it's on private property. It says in cooperation with property owners. Does that mean that the property owners will have an opportunity to opt out of participating? That's one question I have, because I have over 200 feet of quarter round. I don't feel like I should have to be financially responsible for that. I do keep it clear. I do keep it clean. But if a section or two of it pop up, I don't have the equipment, the ability, I don't know how it was installed, anything else. And I do not want to be financially responsible for maintaining it, period. As far as I'm concerned, it's part of a larger system. It's an infrastructure that benefits all the community, all the people on my street, and therefore it should be a city obligation. As worded, the property owner does assume a very significant liability, and I don't think the city should push that onto individual property owners. We've got to remember these liabilities are forever. I mean, that quarter round is put in today. Someday it's going to need to be replaced, repaired. I've got 200 feet of it. That's going to be very costly for me to take care of. I'd rather have grass. Works for me, rather than a quarter round. On item 5, there states that completed on a one-time only basis, it will become necessary to abate, if it becomes necessary to abate block stormwater previously corrected by the city, the property owner will be charged the cost of the correction as determined by the city manager. There could be situations.
You've got about 15 seconds if you could wrap it up, please.
I'm sorry?
You have about 15 seconds if you could wrap it up, please.
Okay. As stated, this policy is punitive to the property owners in the city. That's my 15 seconds thought.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? I seeing none. Council? I would just say that if we're looking at this policy, the ownership of the swales and the pipes is not something that's changing. That's currently a policy that the city has. So we're not adding that in this policy. That's currently the case. I think what we're saying is that if indeed we do go in and we do make the repairs at our expense, future repairs, and it will revert basically back to the current policy. Is that not correct? Sure. Okay. And so the difference that we're doing also is in the quality of the construction. The biggest problem that we have is in the old corrugated metal pipes. Those things over years have deteriorated and have collapsed under driveways, and that's what causes a lot of the problems that we're dealing with. The piping that will be used now will be an ADS type of pipe, which is a plastic, which will last forever. So that's not going to be a problem going forward. So I like the policy as it's written. There's nothing new being put on the citizens of this community. In fact, the policy is stating to the citizens who have difficulties with those that we will take care of that this time. But going forward, we're going to revert back to what is the current policy that we have in the city.
Yeah, I agree. The city code already says it's the homeowner's responsibility to maintain the swales and stop the flow of not stop the flow of water.
Right.
Yeah, if you think about this, we can't correct the flow of the water without correcting the driveway pipes. Right. And there's two choices that the city has. You either go back to the owner of the property and you begin code enforcement issues with them and you end up fining them and you end up going through all kinds of headaches to try to get it corrected, or what the city's chosen to do, and I agree with it 100%, is to absorb the cost to fix it so the water flows correctly. And it's important that we do that without penalizing. I don't see the policy as punitive. I see us taking the other route as being punitive, because that means that certain citizens we're going to get into a legal hassle with over a driveway pipe that they may not have the means nor the ability to fix. And I think for the city, our objective needs to be to get the water to flow correctly. And if that means spending some money on repairing driveways that aren't our responsibility, I believe we should do that. So I think that the policy is a good one for that. And I think the add-on plan that's attached here, and we might even want to put this on the city website so people can see it, because the add-on plan that's attached here, it's important that we communicate this stuff. This is dated October 12th, 2017, and quite frankly, the reason it hasn't been published till now is because of the timing process and getting the bids done and getting some other stuff taken care of. But there is a planning process underway to attack the swales within the city. I know for people who have current water problems, it won't be quick enough, but that's just, we'll have to go after those on a one-on-one. So I believe that the policy is a good one. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else from council?
No.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And it's really, after that agenda item, it's really kind of exciting that we're looking at all of the aspects of the drainage, including the roads and why they're deteriorating. So really, it's a good start to going forward with a comprehensive plan to make improvements, not only in the drainage, but in the roads. So I appreciate the staff's work on that. Thank you. Item B, award Florida Site Contracting the construction services agreement for the driveway pipe replacements. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, this is the obvious follow-on to the previous agenda item. We put this bid out in September, and Florida Site Contracting was the low bidder, and for a typical 20-foot driveway, that would be $1,004. What the strategy will be is to do, as we talked about before, one complete city block. So he will be able to come in there and do both sides of the street, get it done. And then after all that is done, and our stormwater teams have done their swale corrections, then we'll go ahead with the paving. So I'm asking approval of the contract for Florida Site Contracting.
Okay, thank you. Council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the
Second.
award contract.
First and second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none. Any discussion from council? I'll just say that it's interesting in reading the bids that were provided to us, the gap in the size of those bids. I like the way this one was actually bid out on sort of a 20-foot wide driveway versus the way it was before, because it was kind of confusing in the way that it was bid out. You didn't know whether the driveway was going to be $20,000 or $9,000, but now we have everything put in place. It's about $1,000 for a 20-foot wide driveway, and it's nice and clean, and it's just amazing that the next lowest bidder was like $4,000. So it's amazing the difference in price. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Iovino?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, council. Item C, award continuing services agreement, CSA number 7 to MVV Engineering. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, as I talked about earlier, one of your line items on the 17-18 budget is for Indian River Drive, $451,000. Indian River Drive in places really needs repair. So what I have done is negotiated with MBV, one of our CCNA-approved engineering consulting firms, and I've negotiated with them with regard to price as far as evaluation, civil design, bidding assistance, and construction administration. I'm fully aware that because of our festivals along the riverfront, that this may have to be phased. So I've conveyed that to them, and we're going to be talking about that as once they get into the design phase, and I'm recommending approval.
All right, thank you, council. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on approving the engineering of Indian River Drive? Seeing none. Any discussion from council? I just have a couple of questions. There's a lot going on down on Indian River Drive. Like we have a speed bump at the Captain Hiram's location, and there's several different crosswalks. Is MVV going to be doing interviews with individuals to determine where those types of structures or signage and all of those different things need to be, or along Indian River Drive? I mean, if you drive down there, you can see there's speed bumps, there's crosswalks, and signs with lights, and a whole bunch of different things going on.
Just as an aside, the impetus for the speed bump at Captain Hiram's was the result of a traffic fatality that was suffered down there, and we want to make sure that we did our part to mitigate that so it wouldn't happen again. The speed hump at just to the south of the Tiki Bar was the result of traffic analysis and the need for the crosswalk to get to the other parking lot. I haven't talked to them with regard to those type of things. What I have talked to them is about drainage along Indian River Drive, because we do have some problems there, and I'm hoping to correct all that once we get into this design. But I'll pass along those concerns that you talked about, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think it would be much better to go about it through a traffic study than through a fatality to make sure that we have all of that stuff in place. And I'm certain they're going to do that, but it was just something that was popping to my mind. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Leads us up to item D, award bid and 3-year contract to Creative Pyrotechnics for the 4th of July fireworks. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir. The 4th of July fireworks display contractor, that contract expired with the last 4th of July display. We put that item out to bid, I believe it was in the fall, closed in November of 2017. There was only one bid that was submitted from the current provider, Creative Pyrotechnics. The budget that we had for the previous 3 years of his contract was $13,750. I knew that we were going to go out to bid, so I bumped up the budget amount in this year's budget $5,000. So that would have been $18,750. Turns out he was the only bidder, and he bid $25,000 a year. So that's going to require, obviously, an input to that, but we are recommending approval.
All right, thank you. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the public?
I do believe the city attorney has an item that she'd like to present.
Yeah, one of the bid conditions was that the provider has to have adequate workers' compensation insurance. And if you look on page 173 of your packet, what was submitted with the bid was a certificate of election to be exempt from Florida's workers' compensation law. That is actually something that a business owner typically does in order to exempt him or herself from having to cover him or herself under workers' compensation and pay premiums for the business owner that presumably wouldn't do their own business. That is not proof of adequate workers' compensation coverage, and when you consider the nature of what we're asking this contractor to do, I think it's very important that we ensure that the provider has workers' compensation coverage in case one of their employees is injured.
Well, if they have employees, then this doesn't cover them.
Right, but
Right.
it's been my experience that a lot of small business owners get this
Right.
exemption and then think that they don't have to get workers' compensation, or thus in violation of the law.
Yeah, if they have any employees other than themselves as owners, then they're required to have workman's comp coverage, not an exemption. So if the owners are the ones who are out there doing the work, or a subcontractor, I suppose, who is also exempted themselves, I think then that would be the only legal way for this to hold up. And we may want to have that discussion, council, as to whether or not we want to just require them to get the workman's comp insurance.
How about if I amend my motion, move to approve pending receipt of proof of workers' compensation?
Conditional upon.
Yes,
sir.
conditional
upon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can I
so-
ask another
second-
question?
You changed your second on that?
Yeah, second that.
Okay, very good. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this issue?
Speak up, speak up.
Yes, Mr. Howard.
Go ahead.
I'd like to give my input on this.
Yes, go
I'm
ahead.
just curious as to why it increased so much, other than they knew that they were the only bidder possibly, or?
Well, they wouldn't know that they were going to be the only bidder,
it was
but
closed bid.
obviously, but I knew that, I just inherently knew that I was going to get an increase. I
Right.
didn't expect it to be that much. I will say that the first year I was a little disappointed in the performance. The first year of their 3-year contract. The last 2 years have been very good. This last year I thought it was excellent. Perhaps he knew that the bid was going to be coming, but I don't want to be that cynical. But I think he did a very good job this past year. So I am more than happy with their quality of their work, and I think it's prudent to that we recommend this, condition upon their workman's comp proof.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I do have a question. We used to get a lot of public support in the purchase of the fireworks. Now, we are going to be, how much over? It's going to be $8,000?
$6,250, I think.
$6,250. Why did we change the policy that we used to have where we took donations from public on this? Because if I'm not mistaken, we work with the, the Knights of Columbus on the 4th of July parade. And,
yes, sir.
And they used to acquire or procure donations for fireworks to offset the cost.
You're correct.
Okay, and so why have we not done that? And could we potentially, council, go forward and try to get some of those public donations that we used to get to start covering some of the costs of the fireworks? Certainly, it'd be nice to see them cover the costs of what would be the withdrawal from the budget. So.
Also, is it too late to do the bid again? I mean, once the bid is there, it's done for the fiscal year and that's it? I mean, is
no,
it too
sir.
late to shop again?
Council could reject this and order me to put out another bid. Frankly, this guy is local, and I think we've gotten good response from this person. To answer your question, Mr. Mayor, you're correct. We used to do that. Frankly, the former city attorney, Mr. Ginsburg, and I had a massive disagreement on this. It was about the only thing we disagreed on. He thought it was, he thought it just seemed a little unseemly to be doing that and to be requesting this kind of solicitation. Frankly, I don't think there's any problem with it. Other cities do it. There's nothing in state statutes that prevent it. So actually, I have asked that the Community Development Department is going to work up another solicitation letter, and we'll be doing that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. And I think that actually helps to instill great pride. I mean, 4th of July celebration in the city of Sebastian is one of our greatest days. Thousands of people come down to the 4th of July in Sebastian all day long. So it's an amazing day. I'm excited about the fireworks. They did a great job last year. But I also think that the solicitation, of potential donations to offset the cost would not only help budgetarily, but it would also help from a city pride standpoint. So I love the idea of going forward and doing that.
I agree. Absolutely.
I agree.
All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Hill,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen,
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd,
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino,
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, council, thank you very much. Leads us to city attorney matters. Ms. Hall.
I have none beyond which I've already expressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Griffin?
Yes, sir. Two things. I think Light Up Night went very good on the 1st of December, Friday night, 1st of December. Two little kinks that we're trying to work out. I know there was a gripe about streetlights that were out along US 1. We're trying to look into that and take care of that and get that corrected. The other thing, the parade on the 2nd of December, which is Saturday night, was well attended. I think it was one of the most orderly ones that we've had since I've been here. Special thanks to our city employees, police department, obviously all the participants, and thank you all very much. That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Williams?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
All right, leads us up to council matters. I get to go first, and I will just simply say to the general public, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. The staff, thank you very much for such a great year that we've had. I look forward to 2018 going forward, and we'll see you all next year. So Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year.
I don't
Vice
have
Mayor Kitchen.
anything to report. Also, Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope your holidays are happy and safe, and we will see you back in January.
Councilmember Dodd?
I same Merry Christmas. If you travel this holiday season, be safe, secure, and come back safe and secure.
Thank you. Councilmember Ivinio.
Just a reminder, everybody, I know Vice Mayor mentioned that there was an event with Sebastian PD on Wednesday. There's also Shop with a Cop this Wednesday afternoon at the Walmart coming up. And also, I want to say thank you to all the council members and everybody that participated out in the community for the Red Kettle campaign with the Salvation Army. The city of Sebastian raised $896.70 in one day. So I thank you to all the volunteers and everybody out there ringing the bell. I appreciate the hard work. I know it's rough to stand out there for 2 hours at a time. And I'd just like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Happy
All right,
Hanukkah.
thank you very much. Councilmember McParland.
I just want to say, we had Pearl Harbor Day last week, and staff once again did a fantastic job there, Joe. Everybody all around, the event is good, the speakers work exceptionally well, and they did a tremendous job during the parade and the light-up night. And I'll have to say, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
All right, thank you. There being no further business, we are adjourned.